Hello everybody and welcome back. Today is just a quick review of last night's homework here that I'm about to do. For those of you who need it, if you check this quick and you see that you got all the answers correct, you don't need to watch this unless you want to. Alright, so we are going to review how to do some of these multi-part problems again, starting with homework problem number 1 from last night. They tell us that we have a whole bunch of chords in this circle, and they tell us about this ratio again. That ratio is really important. I have to use that to set up to figure out how big the arcs are around the outside of this circle. So again, I have to make sure I'm going in order. Arc DF is the first one, so since that part of the ratio was a 5, DF gets a 5x on it. And then FE is the second one, so that gets a 2, so that'll be 2x on there. EG, of course, is over here. That had a 1 on it, so that'll be 1x. And GD, the last part of that ratio, is a 7, so DG would get a 7x on it. What that means to me here is that my equation is going to be that all of that stuff together adds up to a full circle, which is 360 degrees. So that grand sum, of course, is 15x. That adds up to 360 degrees. And when I put that in my calculator, I do end up with that being 24. Honestly, before I even go look at what they're asking me for, I think it's a really good habit for you to get into to just go back and plug that all in. 1 times 24 is 24 degrees. 2 times 24 is 48 degrees. 5 times 24 is, of course, 120 degrees. And 7 times 24 will, of course, work out to be 168 degrees. So that's how you get that problem started. Solve for x, figure out what all the arcs are around the outside. Now we can answer our questions. So first they want the measure of arc DF. That's just here from D to F. That was the 5x that turned into the 120. So 5 times 24, 120 degrees, and the first part is done. Second part of the problem asks us about major arc DE. When it says major arc, that means you have to find me the longer way to get from D to E. So the longer way to get from D to E is going to be in this direction, going around the circle like that, which means I have to take the 168 degree arc and I have to add that to the 24 degree arc. And when I do that, 168 plus 24 gives me a grand total of 192 degrees. So that was just a quick review to make sure you knew the difference between major and minor. Should make sense. Minor would be the smaller one. Major would be the bigger one. If you weren't sure which one was which here, you could also add the other way and then just compare. And the answer, of course, is the bigger one. Okay. Next up, they want the measure of angle DFG. From D to F to G, what you're supposed to realize there as you trace over that angle is that that is an inscribed angle that they're asking about. So when they ask about an inscribed angle, what you care about, of course, is that you need it to be half of the intercepted arc. So if you need to color, go ahead and color. I would just suggest when it's these bigger problems, you color lightly because things start to overlap each other. And of course, we're talking about this entire arc over here from D to G. So that means to get your answer here, you would have to take half of that. So 1/2 of 168 degrees is going to bring us to a lovely 84 degrees for that answer. And then we're up to the last part of the problem. They want us to find the measure of angle FDE. From F to D to E is another inscribed angle. This really isn't a bad problem at all. So if that's our other inscribed angle, we're worried about what part of the circle that is drawn to. And of course, if I look at where that's going, that inscribed angle is going to, this arc over here from F to E. So my work there is simply 48 divided by 2, or 48 times 1/2, whichever one you prefer. And that is also a 24 degree angle. So that's the first homework problem from last night. Second homework problem from last night is this one here, and what you do have to pay attention to here is the words. If you didn't read the problem, you got totally stuck, and that's because of one very specific thing. They tell us here in the accompanying diagram, triangle ABC is inscribed in circle O. This is the secret secant EFB bisects angle ABC. So if secant EFB is bisecting angle ABC, that means if I can figure out one of these angles is, I know the one that's next to it as well. They also tell me that we have a diameter AOC, so that's nice because we know that that means we've got 180 degrees there. And they tell us that EDC is a secant. We can see that. It hits the circle twice. The measure of angle E is 20 degrees tucked in here. And our arc measures AB to BC have the ratio of 3 to 2. So again, with the 3 and the 2 and the ratio, one of them's a 3x, the other's a 2x, and they're making a semicircle. So to start our problem, 3x plus 2x equals 180 here. That means 5x is 180, and that means my x value works out to be 32 degrees. Nope, I'm sorry, I lied. 36 degrees. At least I caught it early. I'm going to cross that out. 36 degrees. There we go. All right. So arc BC is 2 times 36. So 2 times 36 is going to get me to a lovely 72 degrees here. While I am at it, I might as well find the arc next to it. So 3 times 36 should have this one turn out to be 108 degrees. Now the next thing they want is the measure of arc FD. FD is this little arc in here. I'm going to have to call it Y because I already used the X. Now if I look at where the 20 is, what you should notice is that you can do big minus small divided by 2 equals 20. That's the work you're going to have to do in order to figure out what FD is. I'll color that lightly if you need it. The reason why that's working is because we have one of those angles there that's formed by 2 different secants. So remember the whole big minus small divided by 2 thing from yesterday? That's what we have going on here for FD. So we have 72 minus y divided by 2 ends up being that 20 degree angle out here. I can put this over 1 and cross multiply. That will lead me to 72 minus y equals 40. And then I have to subtract a 72 from both sides. Negative y equals negative 32, and divide by negative 1. So my y value here is 32 degrees. And that's my answer for part B. I'm running out of space here. Next up, they want me to find the measure of angle ABE. Well, that means I would need to know how big this arc is here in order to figure out this angle in here. So I have to go back to my last answer. Angle Y, or rather arc Y, was 32 degrees. And the only other thing that I knew from this problem that's useful in this spot, excuse me, is the fact that this angle here is an inscribed angle that's going to the edges of a semicircle, which means this is 180 degrees down here total, which means this angle in here is a 90-degree angle. Since they told us at the beginning of the problem that that angle was being bisected, I know that each of these are 45-degree angles. So the measure of angle ABE is simply 45 degrees. I don't have to show much work for that. That's more thinking than doing. Now, if this is 45 degrees, that's an inscribed angle. I know that this arc is double that, which is 90. And then if this is 45 degrees, this whole one has to be 90. But I already have 32 degrees of that accounted for. So I can also figure out this arc here by doing 90 minus 32 and coming up with 58 degrees. Just in case I need it later, now it's labeled. Okay, next thing they want me to do is they want me to figure out the measure of angle FGC. From F to G to C, I've got one of those funky angles that's in the middle of the circle, but it's not at the center. So that means I have to add its arc and its vertical angles arc and divide it by 2. Its arc, however, look here carefully. The arc that goes with this angle is all of this put together. So this arc is 90 degrees and this arc is 108. So in order to find angle FGC, I have to take 90 plus 108 and divide it by 2. That means I have 198 divided by 2, and 198 divided by 2 is 99 degrees. My final part of this question was angle ACD. From A to C to D, we're looking at actually a very friendly little inscribed angle there. I'm going to color that in for you. From A to C and then down to D. Everybody sees how that's an inscribed angle there? But when I look across, the trick to this question is like some other tricks we've had. The arc that it's cutting into goes from A all the way around to D. And so that means this angle will be half of all of that, the 90 and the 32. So you have to add together the 90 and the 32 and then divide by 2 or multiply by a half. And you should end up there with a grand total of 61 degrees. And that's it. That's your homework. So we are done with Unit 13 as far as new material goes. Tomorrow I'll be assigning you a review sheet, and then after that, probably early next week, we'll get on to a CASA learning quiz test kind of thing. All right, have a great day. Talk to you soon. Bye.